Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Spanish Football Podcast. I'm Phil Kitromilides. I'm joined as ever by Dr. Sid Lowe. Hello, Sydney.
Good morning, Philip. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you feeling?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Good. Looking terrific, as always. Monday morning. We both always look so frazzled on a Monday. It's testament to the lengths that we go to cover Spanish football. So there we go. We were in London on Friday night doing the live show, which was terrific. Thanks to everyone who came down. There was no preview pod on Friday because we were busy with that live show. It was really good, Sid, wasn't it? Nice to see so many familiar faces.
That's always the best bit, isn't it? The number of different shirts, the fans from all sorts of different clubs, the enthusiasm for Spanish football, and it's a lot of fun. It's a nice community.
We'll be releasing some audio and video from the show very soon as well, if you didn't make it down. Here's what happened on Matchday 32. While the live show was going on, and we watched the second half with some of the people who came, Betis and Real Madrid drew 1-1, a dramatic late equaliser from Hector Bellerin with quite literally the last kick of the game meant that Real Madrid dropped points once more. A big result for Alaves on Saturday. They came from behind to beat Mallorca 2-1. Barça beat Getafe 2-0. Really good win for Barça at a ground where they had seriously struggled over the last few years. Valencia beat Girona 2-1 at Mestalla. A big win for them at the bottom of the table. And Atletico Madrid beat Athletic Club 3-2 at the Metropolitano. Then on Sunday, Rayo and Real Sociedad played out an extraordinary 3-3 draw. I mean, I know this is something that we say all the time, Sid, but hashtag always what's La Real. I think this was their third 3-3 draw in the last couple of months. They concede a ridiculous amount of goals, quite frankly, and Rayo managed to score 3 against them. They'd only managed to score 3 against 2 other teams, Sid, this season.
Who were they?
Yours. One of them was yours, and the other was Atletico Madrid. So there we go.
Oh, there you go then. So all the big boys then.
All the big boys. Speaking of the big boys, Oviedo were beaten 2-1 at home by Elche, and mathematically it's not done, but it is probably done for.
I saw one of those statistics. Chances of relegation. Oviedo are now up at 99.51.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I'm hanging on to that 0.49.
Osasuna beat Sevilla 2-1 at El Sadar. A devastating defeat for Sevilla. They are bottom of the table. Oh, well, no, they're not bottom of the table, but they're in the bottom 3. Alejandro Catena scoring an injury time winner for Osasuna. Massive win for them. And absolutely crushing for Sevilla. And Villarreal beating Celta Vigo 2-1 at the Estadio de la Cerámica to go 5 points clear in third. Monday Night Football is another huge game at the bottom of the table. It's Espanyol, who haven't won still in 2026. They were 5th at the start of the year. They're now just a few points above the relegation zone. They take on Levante. The climax of the La Liga season is upon us, and then we've got the World Cup, and you really, really, really need to be a patron. Patreon.com/TSFP. It's where we're going to be podding over the summer. It costs €4.75 a week, a month even. €4.75 a month, Sid. That's an absolute
It would be cheap at €4.75 a week, Phil.
Yeah. But it's a month. It's just over €1 a week. It's cheaper if you get annual membership. My goodness, it's great value. Come and join us. Sydney, you've been writing about Sevilla today, or you're writing your column about Sevilla. And even if you weren't, it's the place to start. I was commentating this game, Osasuna against Sevilla. It was built up so massively. One of the most important games in Sevilla's history, certainly the most important game domestically in the 21st century. There was so much tension. The tension around the players, around the club, around the manager who said, I've been working harder than I've ever been in my career. I've never worked this hard, the hours I've been putting in. And they still lost, Sid. And it's not just they lost. I mean, they didn't play particularly well either. It is a sinking ship.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons they lost is precisely because of what you say, because of the build-up, because of the tension, because of the sense of who they are. I think fear is a big part of what's happening to Sevilla. Now, there are very, very significant structural flaws and reasons why Sevilla are in this kind of trouble. Very significant ones. But I think the immediate issue is partly about fear. And as you say, they didn't play particularly well, but they were in a position where they put themselves 1-0 into the lead with, it's 11 minutes to go, isn't it? I think 79 minutes when they're 79 minutes when they get equalised. So they're 1-0 up until 11 minutes to go. At that point, I actually think even before that point, they drop deeper and deeper because there's this real kind of desperation to protect what they've got, which actually isn't the best way to protect what you've got. And I think this is what's happening. And there was this discourse, wasn't there, from Luis Garcia? I'm not sure if it was the midweek game or last weekend's games. I've got a feeling it was the last weekend's game when he said, we didn't want to step off. We didn't want to sit back. And I kept saying to him, step out, step out, step out. He said, but it's human. It's human to back away when you're frightened. It's human to take a step back. And I think that's what's happening. And if you look at the lineups, structure, personnel, they change every game. This is a manager desperately trying to find something, and he's not finding it.
He left the captain and the top scorer on the bench for this game.
Yeah,
Nemanja
exactly.
Kudau and Akko Adams were on the bench. He sort of justified it pre-game by saying, well, we played on Thursday, Osasuna played on Tuesday, need to refresh things up a little bit physically and also some tactical tweaks. But yeah, he's struggling, the manager.
He is. And he said, I think in a way, one way of starting this might be to look at the pre-match press conference when Luis Garcia, who, bear in mind at this point, has been in charge for 3 games, is asked about his future.
Yeah.
Now, it's not just that Luis Garcia says, and this is the quote, you leave me, the phrase he used was frozen. You've left me stone cold with that.
Helado.
What? Seriously?
Yeah.
Seriously? After 3 games? It's not just that he says that. It's the way he says it. He says, oh, well, okay, then. Okay. Well, 3 games in. Okay. Well, you tell me. I mean, it's only 3 games. And what I think's interesting in that is that I think when that question is posed to him, he realizes, actually, this might be true. And I don't trust these guys for it not to be true.
What?
And also that his response, I don't know. I don't want to pick on Luis Garcia because it absolutely isn't his fault, but I think his response tells you something about the club, because he starts talking about me, the things that have happened to me, the things that have happened in my games. Now, in part, I think it's because he doesn't want to speak for what's gone before, but it's also about him turning up and thinking, oh my word, what am I in the middle of? And he says, the problems were here before I came, and he's absolutely right. He's 100% right. But the discourse is kind of a man saying, whoa, would you have a look at this shit and look what I've got on my hands here? And of course, that doesn't help because there is this sense of him coming in. And I think there is an unwritten issue. And I really do think it's unwritten. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't think I've seen it and I don't think it's really been discussed, which is that they sacked Matías Almeida. And I think most people looked at this and I don't think anyone really felt sorry for Almeida, particularly from the outside, because the results weren't good. The team wasn't very good. But I actually think that Almeida was in a position where he at least more or less had players on his side. He at least more or less had a degree of emotional connection with them. And this isn't to say it's Luis Garcia's fault, because it absolutely isn't. But you broke one of the few things they had by sacking him. And they're in really bad trouble.
Just to put some context into, also when he was asked about getting sacked, he said, well, if I get sacked, that's total chaos. Yes. And I think total chaos is the sort of default setting for Sevilla, because Luis Garcia Plaza is the 12th different man to take charge of Sevilla in the last 9 years. That's chaotic enough in itself, but even that stat only tells half the story, because during that time, Jorge Sampaoli was manager twice and Joaquin Caparrós was interim coach 3 times. So the number of managerial changes in the last 9 years is really quite extraordinary.
And we could add to that, by the way, 12 coaches in 9 years, when Julian Lopetegui, I believe I'll be right in saying, lasted 3 years.
Yes.
You've got one little island of relative stability. And bear in mind that Julian Lopetegui wasn't that far off winning the league. I think I'm right in saying they qualified for the Champions League 3 years in a row.
Sid, I mean, the
and at that point, it wasn't enough.
Because listen, they finished 4th in 2020, 2021 and 2022. 4th, 3 years in a row. Then they finished 12th in 2023, but they won the Europa League. Then they finished 14th in 2024. Last year, they finished 17th. And this year, they're 18th. It's been a steady decline from pretty big heights. Fourth place 3 years in a row is terrific for Sevilla. And here we are, 4 years later, from being in the Champions League, finishing 4th, to this.
Yeah, and should we talk steady decline? Because we're here talking about the underlying the underlying issues. One way of analysing this is to give you some more numbers, which is to say that their total spending this summer was €250,000. 250,000 euros, and they
on
sold.
How many players?
Hang on, I've got the list here.
They brought in a lot.
3. I mean, the total list is about 14 long. I mean, some of those are promotions from the B team. So actual signings is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 actual signings across the two markets. By the way, they made 55 million in sales. Yeah. The previous summer, they spent 20 million, which doesn't sound terrible, but they made 32 million. So they're still working at a deficit. The summer before that, 32 million, which seems like quite a lot. But look at the players. Bade, he's gone. Luque Bacchio, he's gone. Pedrosa. Nyland, who's now the substitute goalkeeper. Sergio Ramos, who's been and gone. Mariano Diaz from Real Madrid. Now, these aren't, they've just been an absolute disaster. Now, I don't know about you, but I reminded myself, I was thinking about this morning. There's an amazing clip from a Netflix La Liga documentary at the beginning of the season after they win the Europa League. And they're sitting on a golf course. And I remember at the time laughing at this. And now you think, wow. They're sitting on a golf course, and it's Pepe Castro, who was then the president. It's Jose Maria del Nido Jr., who was then the vice president, is now the president. So very much the same group. And they actually had an agreement, those two, to alternate the presidency, which in itself is hilarious. You have an agreement to alternate the presidency. And the other guy, of course, is Victor Horta, who came in as a sporting director.
Victor Horta, yes.
Now, I'm actually going to slightly defend Victor Horta in the sense that this was just a mess at all levels. And I'm going to slightly defend Antonio Cordon, who's a sporting director now, because he's basically been put in a position where he had to build a team with literally no money. Right? Anyway, so this
150
clip...
grand.
Yeah, exactly.
For 9 players.
Is them sitting on a golf course, pre-season somewhere, and they're sitting around a table, and it's hot. It's clearly hot, but still Pepe Castro is there in his suit, and Del Nido Jr. is there trying to look sort of smart and slick.
Yes.
And they're saying to Mendilibar, well, you came in because the team was in crisis. That's true, but you're now here because we're a Champions League team, and this is, we've got to change, and we've got to be good enough. And we don't want to go through the suffering we went through before, and we've got to get back to our model. And our model is young players. We bring players through, and we develop, and we're not going to go through that suffering again. And Mendilibar, who is the absolute classic no bullshit manager, is looking at them as if to say, you guys. I mean, it's really embarrassing. It's so David Brent. It's unreal. Or what's the name of David Brent in the American version for our American listeners? I've forgotten what he's called now. The American version of The Office, anyway. It's just it's embarrassing, corporate, empty speak.
And anyway, they sacked him after 8 games. And
well, exactly. That's the punchline to this joke. And he's there, sort of shaking his going, "Wow, okay." And then they cut to him saying, "So wait a minute, the 36-year-old who's just won you the Europa League now longer is not valid for you. Don't want him anymore." And he's just looking at them thinking, you absolute morons. And as you say, the punchline is 8 games later, they've sacked him. How did that go for you, lads?
Extremely badly. And looking at the fixtures that Sevilla have coming up, it is quite a not very encouraging run into the season. Their next game is at home to Real Sociedad.
Yeah.
Their home form has been abysmal. Only Levante and Oviedo have less points at home than Sevilla. I mean, it's really, really poor at home. Then they're at home to Espanyol. If they don't win that, then they're away to Villarreal, which maybe Villarreal will be on the beach by then, but not an easy game. Then they at home to Real Madrid. Real Madrid, I don't know where they'll be, but they won't be in the title race. And then they're away to Celta Vigo. So in theory, they've got 4 really tough games, and then they're at home to Espanyol, who haven't won all year. But it is really, really devastating.
What you've just said there is really important about the home record being awful.
It's awful.
Because everybody is saying this is about the home games. And I must admit, there's a bit of me thinking this is about the home games, these next 2 games. It's about winning these next 2 games at the Pizjuan, which has real atmosphere, which is really, really, in theory, intimidating. And Luis Garcia has said this 2 or 3 times now. When I came as a manager and played against Sevilla, you felt it. And we have to feel it now. And he made the point yesterday in the post-match game press conference, where he complained a lot about the fact that 9 minutes were added and they conceded in the 99th minute, and that's very painful and all the rest of it. But obviously there are broader issues here. And he said, when I came as a manager, it was terrifying, the P1, and the P1 has to do this. And I am not in a position to ask our fans to do anything, because I've been here for 4 games and we've only won one of them, and I'm not in a position to ask them to do anything, but we need them. And I think this is right, and it's true, and you do need these 2 home games, but you're right as well. Their home form is not something you would say, tell you what, that's the thing you grab hold of. But really and truly, look at the away form and think, well, yeah, it is, because it's all there is. And
yeah, 5 wins from 16. Funnily enough, one of those wins was a thrashing of Barcelona, which seems long time ago now. Big problems at Sevilla. All right, Sid, tell us a little bit about the game you were at on Saturday afternoon. You came back from the live show, went straight to the Coliseum to see Barcelona win 2-0. As we said, this was a place where Barcelona had a really poor record. They only scored 1 goal in their last 5 matches at the Coliseum. They were missing Lamine Yamal, they were missing Rafinha, but Pedri started pulling the strings in a way that he hasn't done in the last few weeks. And he set up Fermin with the opening goal. Fermin called it un pase de locos, an absolute madness of a pass. It's a beautiful assist. And Fermin does the job. And then Marcus Rashford scores a second. This was a pretty complete performance from Barca.
Yeah, it was. And I think one of the things that was interesting about it, from my point of view, is that they were patient. Now, it's true. It is absolutely true that the analyses you come up with, and I say you as, the collective we, if you like, and I absolutely include myself in this, always are coloured a little bit by the result. And this goal comes literally on 44 minutes and 59 seconds. Had they got to halftime without having got this goal, I wonder if our analysis might be different, because here I am saying, well, Barcelona were patient. They took their time. They tried to control the game. They didn't panic. They waited for their opportunities. And had they got to halftime and not got it, I wonder if I might be now sitting here saying, well, they lacked urgency. The ball circulation was slow. And I probably would be, because that is true. That is what the game was like. The pitch was a little slow, a little bit dry,
obviously,
a little bit long. Yeah, obviously. Of course. And you know this. And it did seem to me like a slightly sluggish game, but one in which, yes, Barcelona were trying to keep hold of the ball, not allow Getafe to run counterattacks. And actually, it's not really that Getafe run counterattacks. It's not really what they do. We have to get away from the obvious analysis, which is say, well, they stay deep and then they run counterattacks. No, they go long, which is not the same as running counterattacks. They go long and they go direct. But it is true they were a little bit deeper because Barcelona were pushing them further back. But I think what Barcelona did, and again, this is conditioned, as I often say, by your perspective on the pitch. I was pitch side, and I was pitch side on the left side of the Barcelona attack, where Fermin was tending to drift into that position. Now, I know he scored the goal in the end just to the left of centre, but a lot of his runs were the left. And it was absolutely clear to me, and it's easy to be a smart arse after the event, I know, that the goal, if and when it came, and I do think it was an if, because it wasn't clear that the goal was going to come from a Pedri pass and a Fermin run. Because the whole of that first half was basically Getafe squeezing the line, trying to step out, not being able to step out that far, but trying to step out, trying to push Barcelona back, and Pedri trying to find the pass that broke that Getafe back line. Usually with a little clip dink over the top, not usually through the gap, but usually over the top, and usually with a certain degree of diagonal on it. So it was to be slightly to the right of centre to slightly to left of centre. And the person making the run every time to try and offer that was Fermin. And truth be told, it wasn't coming off. Either the pass wasn't quite right or Fermin's first touch wasn't quite good. A couple of times he got the ball caught under his feet. As I say, the pitch was a bit slow. About 2 or 3 minutes before, Fermin had walked past just in front of me and kicked a divot out of the pitch because he was pissed off because he just messed up the previous one. But you could see that this was the way Barcelona were going to break that Getafe line. And it took a brilliant pass and a great run. But the 2 players who most did it all the way through the game were those 2.
Marcus Rashford scored, second goal, through on goal, an assist from Robert Lewandowski. Bobby Lewandowski pumping the ball up, and Marcus Rashford
from inside his own penalty area, almost, wasn't it?
Slotting it home nicely. 13 goals and 13 assists in all competitions for Marcus Rashford. He's available for around 30 million euros, and yet it feels like they might not sign him, Sid. Why are Barcelona maybe not going to sign him?
Well, you've given part of the answer there because it costs 30 million euros. And he would be extremely well paid, assuming that he would demand something close to what he's on at Manchester United. And Barcelona aren't going to pay that, can't afford to pay that for someone who's a backup player. Yeah. You're right. I mean, Marcus Rashford is the classic yeah, but no, but player. Because his figures are very good. His figures are unquestionable. But
they are.
But they're sort of not if you unpack them.
Yeah, because it hasn't necessarily been decisive, have they? Those
there's been key goals in some key moments at the start of the season, a little flurry, and then a big gap in the middle, and then one or two here and there at the end of the season. And I mean, look, to counter the statistical, if we're going to give a statistical thing which says, look at his stats are really good, and they are really good, let's give another stat, shall we? I don't know if this counts as a stat, but it's a fact. He didn't start this game. No. A game in which Barcelona winning basically wrap up the league title because Real Madrid have not won the night before. They don't have Rafinha. They don't have Lamine, who is the one player that can play on both wings, who has got good figures. It's Marcus Rashford, and he doesn't start. Now, again, I think there is a degree of tactical analysis in this, which is Rashford really good running into space. Getafe are quite likely not to give you very much space. Although, as I say, they do play a defensive line higher than people assume. But we looked at this game, we thought this probably isn't the game where Rashford runs through you. Why? Because the finesse and the precision isn't really there. If the game is broken and it's open, he can make things happen. If you can get him into shooting positions around the edge of the area, he can make things happen. But that clever little final pass or the touch inside tight areas, you look at it and you think, well, yeah, I probably would rather have Dani Olmo or even Rooney Bardghji. Or maybe Fermin playing further up the pitch, not necessarily as a midfielder, but kind of almost as a false winger. You know, those are the players, or Gavi doing that kind of role. Those are the players that you want ahead of him. And so
is that one of the reasons as well why they might not sign him, because they've got all those players that can sort of play there as well.
They're stacked for sort of attacking midfielders.
Yeah.
Now, none of them are quite the player that he is, and I think they will try and buy 2 attackers this summer. I think they'll try and buy 2. I think they want an out-and-out centre forward who'll be a starter, and they want a backup player who plays across the front line. And you say, that's Rashford. But let's go back to what you said. Rashford cost 30 million euros, and his salary would be high. And there are 1 or 2 doubts. If Rashford was in a position right now in which the the purchase clause from Manchester United was 5 million, I think this gets done. I think it's important. I think this is important that we say, because I think there is an assumption that if people listening to this analysis will say, oh, so Barcelona aren't pleased with Rashford. They are pleased with him. They're just not sure that he's absolutely...
They're just not 30 million euros pleased with him.
They're not pleased by 30 million euros. And so, you know, this has absolutely been a successful loan, but the key to that phrase is loan. This is a successful loan. They're happy within the context of what he is. Are they happy enough to pay 30 million? Probably not.
All right, let's move on. We're not actually going to touch too much upon Betis against Real Madrid because we didn't watch the full game. There isn't an enormous amount to say on it, unless there is something you want to get off your chest before we move on.
I think actually the fact that there isn't an enormous amount to say is applicable to them. Like there wasn't an enormous amount that they gave. There isn't an enormous amount they can do. There's not an enormous amount that they can say, which is why Arbeloa gives a 3-minute press conference after the game in which he complains about the refereeing. He can have a point, by the way. Certainly the handball, I think, is a penalty. I think it's absolutely a penalty. I think he's wrong on the other one where he complains about the Betis goal and says it's a foul on Mendy, but it's absolutely a penalty that they should have had. But, of course, that does not explain why they are 11 points behind Barcelona.
They played all right in the first 30 minutes, actually played quite well. And then, sort of fell away, as we've seen many, many, many times. I want to talk to you about Rayo 3, Real Sociedad 3, Sid, because you were there. It was an absolute madness, beautiful madness of a game. What was it like to be there?
Totally mad. Things happened far too fast. As you say, it's 3-3. Rayo scored 5 times in the game, even though it finished 3-3. Obviously, goals ruled out for them. The turning point is something which we really could be here all day. So I'm going to really try not to be, okay? Not least because we try not to talk. Well, we don't, you know what? This thing of we try not to talk about referees is actually not entirely true because too often we have to, right? But I think what we mean by that is we try not to talk about referees in this kind of conspiratorial, aren't they against us sort of way.
Yeah.
So to give you the context, Rayo score a goal that makes it 2-2. They're 2-1 down. They score a goal that makes it 2-2. I actually thought Rayo played really well, by the way. And I think they deserved to get back into this game. In fact, I think they probably should have won it. They score a goal that makes it 2-2. Hang on. No, wait. I've got this the wrong way around. Yes, sorry. They scored a goal.
They did. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. This is, you see, I'm confused even trying to remember it. But their goal comes immediately after, and I think a brilliant tackle in their own area.
Yeah.
Brilliant tackle in their own area. They score, I think it's 19 seconds later up the other end. So they go up the other end, they score. It makes it 2-2. Obviously, because it's a goal, they do a VAR check. They rewind. Yes. They go back to the challenge in the other area. And the referee decides, having looked at the VAR screen, that actually, no, it's a penalty at the other end. Yeah. So they go from 2-2 and level, and the momentum's theirs, to suddenly being 3-1 down because Oyarzabal does scores the penalty. Now, that's only part of the story. Because that penalty check takes 7 minutes.
Yeah.
7 minutes.
It does. We speak more about this in the newsletter today for patrons. So this VAR check and everything that it means. Go and read the newsletter because that's what that is all about. But I mean, in terms of, I don't want to sort of frame this entirely on sort of Rayo and how great they are, but I mean, there was a lot of spirit there shown coming back from 3-1. And the defensive deficiencies of La Real, Sid, they've got one of the worst defenses in the division. They've only kept 3 clean sheets all season. They keep conceding late goals as well. And I think we've waxed lyrical about Rino Materazzo and the fantastic work that he's done. But they need to tighten up at the back.
No, they do. And actually, you know, it's 3-3. And then there's a moment at the very end when Ramiro comes out and misses a cross. And
I don't think it's a penalty.
Is it Elias? I think it's Elias, isn't it?
Yeah.
Steamrollers Elias. Now, for what it's worth, the cross has already gone. And Elias isn't getting there. But it's certainly risky. The reason I bring it up isn't so much to say, and there could have been a penalty. It's to say that was actually a recurring theme during the game. Do you not think Ramiro looked really quite wobbly?
Really wobbly.
Every time he crossed, he was coming and slightly misjudging it. And he's a goalkeeper I really like, by the way. I really like him. I think he's a very, very good goalkeeper, but he was wobbly.
He is the goalkeeper with the lowest save percentage in La Liga, Sid.
Is he?
Read into those statistics what you want, but lowest save
very
percentage
interesting
in La Liga. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, that's not necessarily to say he's messing them all up or he should save them. No, it might be the type of shots he's facing and so on.
Yeah.
It's curious as well, isn't it? Because John Martin, the centre back, I think has been brilliant. I really like the look of him, and yet you're looking at a defence that's not entirely convincing. In fact, very rarely convincing. It's partly about, I think Materazzo tried a couple of new things in this game. He played with Oyarzabal behind the forward rather than as the forward. That meant obviously one fewer actual midfielder in that little triangle of 3. They didn't really control Rayo. I thought Rayo were very, very good though, by the way. And Rayo kept coming at them, created lots of chances. I think it was 20 shots they had by the end of the game. Rayo, you've said it yourself. Rayo struggled to score goals. On this occasion, they created chances. They scored 3, but they could have scored 5 or 6.
They could, and they've got a big Conference League semi-final to look forward to on Thursday evening.
Do you know what I think they have to do? I mean, I'm no one to give advice to any manager. I think the conference game, they have to forget that it's a conference semi-final because I think mentally that will mess with them. They have to go, right, we're Rayo, this is Vallecas, we do what we do, and we go mad if we have to. And this goes chaotic if it has to, because that's the way that we play.
Fingers crossed, Sid. Fingers crossed. Yes. All right. Quick word about Oviedo. It is done, right?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. This was the game that you had to win. Winning this, and you would genuinely have thought there was a chance. Elche scored 2 in 15 minutes. Right, the first goal is absolutely absurd. And also the first goal. I don't know if you saw. It was Bigas. His post-game interview. He essentially said, well, we had to make sure we finished the moves, which is a way of saying don't let the ball get robbed. So tell you what, if you have to take a wild pop shot that you deep down you know is not going in, take it. Only it did go in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrific strategy. Just blast it in from, absolutely miles out.
Bastard.
Yes. All right, in the Segunda, Racing are just 2 points clear at the top of the table after their 0-0 draw at Ceuta last night. They had 3 goals ruled out for offside, Racing in that game. Almeria a second. They won 4-2 at Granada. A hat-trick from former Real Madrid man Sergio Arribas. Then it's Depor, 2 points further back. They drew 1-1 at Burgos. And then it's Castellón, who won 3-2 at Malaga with a hat-trick from Alex Calatrava. It is really, really fascinating, the end of the Segunda División season as well. And, you know, the Segunda is a terrific division, isn't it, Sid?
It certainly is.
Yes.
I'm going to enjoy being there next year. The Segunda also gave us, unfortunately, the image of the weekend.
Oh, my word. Yes.
I mean, so there's a moment towards the end of the Aragon derby between Zaragoza and Huesca, and well, how do I put this? The Zaragoza goalie sprints after Huesca's captain Pulido and punches him full in the face, like a full-on proper jump in the air, punch in the face. It is horrendous. He's not pushing and shoving and someone loses it. He chases him.
It's Esteban Andrada, who has been sent off because he's pushed Pulido to the ground. He's pushed Pulido a little bit. Pulido has fallen to the ground theatrically, as everyone does when a finger is laid on them. He gets a second yellow card, I think, for the push. And then once he realizes he's been sent off, he goes for Pulido, and it is literally the dictionary definition of, oh, you're crying, I'll give you something proper to cry about, and smashes him in the face, which is it's actually quite shocking. Like, you do not expect.
No, it's genuinely shocking. It's genuinely shocking. It's horrible. Really horrible.
Absolutely extraordinary. All right, listen, we'll leave it there. It is a big week, my friends. It is a big week because we've got European semi-finals. Atletico Madrid are taking on Arsenal at the Metropolitano on Wednesday night. You're going to be there, Sid?
I am going to be there. But more importantly, Philip, I'll be in Vallecas on Thursday.
We'll be at both of those games, covering the first, I will, and enjoying the second, hopefully.
I know, covering your head in your hands in the second one, probably terrified that things might go wrong. But I think you're going to enjoy it.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, we're over at patreon.com/TSFP. We'll be taking your questions tomorrow on the Q&A podcast. There's a bonus pod on Thursday as well. Loads of archived content because, you know, as the world gets more crazy and more insane and all this mess around us, what you really need are 2 guys from North London wittering on about Spanish football. That will bring some calmness and inside tranquility to your being. So patreon.com/TSFP. Adios, amigos. Thanks for listening.
Cheerio.